Welcome, 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 welcome to the Art Stories Project, brought to you by moi. I am the official artist, Sarah Loam. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. At least that's what it feels like to me. It feels like it's been eternity, which doesn't make sense because eternity doesn't end. So what does that mean? Does that mean I still have yet to become who I am? You know, once you start going down this rabbit hole, once you decide to lift the veil, lift the curtain, it's like the journey never ends. The information, it never ends. And so the more you learn, the less you know. It's really strange. It's really strange. So that's what's happened to me. Like, I have been doing the inside work for so long. It's almost like I came to do the inside work. It's like, oh yeah, I'll go be a human on earth and all I'm gonna do the whole time is the inside work, because I'm gonna have to do that as a way to counteract and stop the momentum of my childhood stories. Childhood stories are the stories that create the energy within the heart. And it's ultimately the heart that causes our effect, because the heart is usually what we're creating with, the energy from the heart. Yes, we're thinking thoughts and taking action based on that. So our thoughts play a role also, but I really think that it's the heart that really influences the thoughts the heart feels. The heart influences the thoughts the mind thinks. But ultimately, it's the two working together that are causing or creating your reality. So for me, I was always an artist. Like, art was always my thing. But I wasn't just like into drawing. While I could draw when I was young, but I wasn't that good at it. But the way I approached everything, I approached it from the perspective of art. So my other thing besides drawing was sports, and I was really good at basketball and soccer. At least those are the two sports I played the most of. But when I played, I didn't just play to play. I played to really understand the skills that it takes to become pro. So when I was younger, I remember I used to watch the World Cup. I would study the players and their skills, specifically the ball handling skills. It's through the ball handling skills that we're able to really move the energy in the right direction in a way that has more of a strategic impact. You know, you can have a strong kicker, so you have a strong defense. You can move the ball up that way, but I didn't have a strong kick, but I had strong ball handling skills. So I was able to be fast, and most people weren't prepared for what I was coming with. They didn't realize how fast I was and how good I was with my ball handling skills. So that's where I excelled, was in the skills of dribbling. It's a weird word. Try saying it 5 times. Dribbling. But I think more specifically, what I really loved about soccer specifically, or basketball and soccer were my things. So I really studied the skills of both of them. But you know what? What I really loved about learning the skill set or mastering the skills of the sport was when that's when you really could be the artist of the sport. Does that make any sense? It's like, yeah, you could play the game, you could be an athlete, But if you're not mastering all different elements and aspects of what it means to be an athlete, to be an effective player, to be a powerful player, to be a precise player, to know where the ball is going to be 5, 10 steps down the path, if you will, whatever. So like, I loved that part of sport. I loved being able to like master the skill set and master the inner standing of how the game works, so that I could play it differently, so that I could play it as if I were the artist of it. I don't even know if that makes any sense, but what I'm trying to say is I look at everything in life, and being a human, I just feel like we are meant to be artists. And if we look at ourselves as artists and creators, and if we really took the time to study what it takes and what it means to be a powerful, effective, impactful human being, creator, artist, whatever your art is, whoever you are meant to be, I think it's cultivating the artist within that allows us to really activate our gifts, the gifts that make us unique, the gifts that make us good at what we do, the gifts that actually raise the vibration and help each other in some way. And I think that's what we're all here to do, is to help. How can we help each other? Because ultimately we're just like quantum computers, here to collect information on behalf of the universe. So we're basically working for the universe and God, whatever you want to call it. But it's like this thing that is constantly duplicating itself and creating different points of view as a way to collect data and or information, as a way to experience all that there is to experience. And so we can experience life as a human, or you can experience life as something else. But regardless of how you experience life, whatever that is, and wherever that is, we are ultimately collecting information. And so if you, as a human being, understand that you are an artist and a creator, and so if that's the intention that you show up every day, and so what is an artist and creator got to do to be good? What do you got to do to be good? You got to practice, you got to study, you got to research, you got to learn, and you got to put into practice what you learned. But ultimately, in order for us to really become the artist that we really are, like in order for us to get out our uniqueness, we the individual human being, we have to be willing to go within and learn about who we are, who you are. And so many of us have been put into this box, this prison, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, but it's these rules and regulations on what it means to be a human and how we do life. So we're all just kind of like born into this reality, this life experience, forced, not forced, but forced into a programming. And this programming is a very low and dense frequency. And so we aren't really ever given the opportunity to learn about love and to learn about what it means to be a human and to learn about emotions and to learn about the laws of the universe and to learn about out there and down there. See, we've just been lied to and put into a massive war of art, if you ask me. So it's not just our childhood stories that we have to really deal with. We have to really deal with the way that life has been designed to create this trauma-based programming so that we suppress the inner artist and the creator, and we never fulfill our true potential. And so for me, I came here knowing that I had this thing inside of me that had to come out, but I didn't know what it was. And then the trauma from my childhood and all the fear that I got imprinted with, it basically created this mindset or this programming that I wasn't good enough. And so what ended up happening was I had this artist in me that was always trying to come through, but I could never turn pro. I was always, always, always so close, but never able to go all the way. Never able to be as impactful as I could have been if I was free, and if I wasn't afraid to fail, or if I wasn't afraid of rejection, or if I thought I was good enough. I could have been great so long ago. But instead, I had that thing in me for so long. And so I ended up on a path that wasn't where I wanted to go. And I knew it. I knew it. When I look back on my life story, which I do often, I look at all the times where I made a decision to go left instead of right, when right would have been the best thing to do. That's just an example, but I'm just saying that, like, I never followed my heart because I didn't know about that. I didn't know about love. I didn't know myself. And I didn't have these very, very, very important qualities and mindsets and programming. The belief in myself, the trust in myself, the love for myself, to be like, you know what, I don't care if I fail, and I don't care what you think of me. I just want to know, what would it be like? I just want to know, what am I capable of? If I had that, if we all had that, oh my God, the world would be so different. So different. It'd be so delicious. It really would be. Just imagine everybody out there, really, really being the professional version of themselves, not the self they've created as a way to fit into the ideologies of a very flawed and fucked up society, but the higher self, the true self, the artist, the creator, the lover, the friend, the healer. Because I know I'm not the only one that ended up taking a lot of wrong turns. I know I'm not the only one that's been hurting, and the older I got, the worse it got. And I'm not the only one that ended up sick and in a really shitty place. A lot of people end up in this dark reality, and it's really hard to get out. It's really hard to get out. But I look back on where I went wrong so that I can understand better why things ended up becoming the way they have become, so that I can stop the momentum and really, really, really take more control of myself and my life, so that I can tell better stories, so that I can feel better, so that I can really be the artist that I want to be. So looking back, I see where I went wrong, and I was too afraid to turn pro, too afraid to take the shot. Too afraid to take the shot. Like in basketball, I was really good at ball handling in basketball, but I was always too afraid to take the shot because I didn't want to miss. And I had a terrible shot. But I was really good at, like, getting the ball down into the post so that they could take the shot. So then I didn't have to worry about failing, missing. If I miss, then I'm a failure, just like he said. Then I'm not good enough, just like I always felt. So the problem with that, though, is if you're never taking the shot, you're never really practicing the shot process. And there's a process, from where we position the ball and how we place our hands to how we fully extend, and really maintaining the follow through long enough so that you keep the energy connected to the ball and into the hoop so that you actually land the shot. But if you're never practicing that, then you're never going to get the feeling of it. So you're never going to know, what you really got to do to get the shot, to be a good shooter. So fear blocks us off from shooting. At least that's what it did for me. So I never shot. But I guess my problem was that, like, whenever I did take a shot, I'm not talking just in basketball or sports, but I'm talking about, like, life in general. Like, if I took a shot in my quest to be great, in my quest to create something, I always miss. I always missed. And so basically I ended up on this path where it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. No matter what I did, I could never really win. But I tried so hard. I tried so hard. And I studied a lot. Like, I knew I was on a bad path when I was 21. And that's when my research into psychology, and I guess we can umbrella it under the category of self-mastery, and there's a lot of categories within that, but I went on this quest to save myself in a way, because I knew there was no one going to save me. There was no thing going to save me. There's nothing out there that was going to help me with what I had inside of me, which was so much grief and so much pain and so much fear and so much insecurity. I didn't realize that at the time. I just knew I was like gonna be fucked. I knew it. So the quest began at a very young age, where I realized I had this monster that had infected me my whole life thus far, and it was like the venom started circulating through my veins and coming out in ways that I wasn't prepared for, because now I was an adult trying to do life, and life is designed to keep us suppressed and disempowered, and it kills the artist. I wanted to go to art school. It didn't work out. Why? I wasn't good enough. And I wasn't ready. So I didn't go. I went an entirely different direction. And that direction, it had value. I guess, but if I had pursued the artist from the start, then things would have been better and I wouldn't have got so lost. And so basically I started off in adulthood with a lot of shit, and then things didn't get better. So the worse it got, the more shitty experiences I ended up encountering, and the more shitty experiences we encounter, the more heartbreak we experience, the more resistance we experience, the more frustration we experience. And the more of those experiences we create and cultivate and collect, the heavier we get, the more resistance within we create. It just creates this vibration and this way of being that is very suffocating and very distorted, very contrasting ends of the stick. And that's how we end up getting sick. That's how we end up in even worse situations. Then, what ends up happening? We die. You die with regret. You die with unfinished business. You die never getting what you came for. And I think regardless of who you are, what we came for was to really experience ourself and to learn about love. But it's really hard to do that in a world that, hides the truth. So it's not surprising that we all end up into this cycle. And it's hard to get out of it. It's really hard to break the programming. And once you get down a place of darkness, the older you get, the deeper into it you get. And so when I ended up getting sick with cancer, I decided to pursue the quest of self-love, because I didn't believe in the cancer treatment and I didn't want to die feeling the way I felt. I didn't even know what I meant or understand what I was taking on. Like, the pursuit to self-love was just something that I had come up with. I don't even know how or why, but when you're afraid to die, you also realize that you could very well die. You're willing to do things in a very different way because it wakes you up. I think it wakes up the heart, it wakes up the soul, and you start to remember who you are and what you came for. So anyway, I started doing the work, the inside work, and I started looking at myself like art. And so instead of studying other people or studying the skills of other things, I studied myself. And because I didn't know how else to find self-love. I mean, in the beginning, I was looking outside of myself, but it always left me disappointed. Other people are not going to help. They're just not. They're just not. I mean, maybe in some ways, but it's more like giving you information, but it's not the whole story. It's just a little piece. So it's up to you to collect the information, the data. So collecting the data on yourself, do that for a bit and see what happens. So that's what I did, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done. The more I pursued the quest for self-love, that then turned into the quest to become a vibrational match to unconditional love. And the reason for that is so that I can be emotionally free, because I don't want to feel so out of control with my emotions. And I don't think that that's normal, or I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. But when you understand trauma programming, and when you understand what happens when a soul gets fractured due to trauma and stress that has been perpetuated over a long period of time, and if you can see the cracks in the heart, and you can see how it can cause someone to feel very fragmented. So you can feel, love or happy or excited about things. But if you're coming from a place of being heartbroken and fractured, then those emotions are going to be like level 10. And that's a very high, scattered place to be. And I don't think it's healthy. And feeling that way or being that way could be perceived to just being on the far end of the spectrum, and being too much into one way or one emotion is just draining. It's draining. The same thing is true if you're on the deep end of the spectrum of fear and frustration and worry, or like say you're angry. Being very angry is not healthy and doesn't always do us any good. But if you can do the work to raise your frequency and learn about yourself and understand all the stories that you experienced and how they made you feel and how they cause your effect to this day, thus understanding the shadows. When you understand them and you know them, and you do the work to fill yourself up with stuff that feels good, you will create this alignment within your head and your heart and your soul, so that you create this unity where you're working together. Basically, what I've been doing with the Art Stories Project is documenting myself, getting to know myself, and taking my content and the documenting that I've done and putting it together in such a way that turns it into art, and creating this experience that helps me see myself, who I was, and the lessons I've learned. And so subsequently, what I have done is I have blended art mastery with self-mastery. And I've done the work to look at my heartbreaks and the stories that happened to me. And I did the work to understand them. And I also did the work to love them. And in that, I have been finding myself to be more emotionally free because I don't have the same kind of perspective of myself and life and love and being human. Instead, I see things from a more neutral perspective. And I think that's really what unconditional love is, when you're just not on any extreme. You don't have to go there. Going there is a choice. It's a conditioning. It's usually the response of a trauma or something that's triggering. So when we get triggered, we flail. So, like, take for example, falling in love with someone. When we first meet someone, we can get really excited about it, and it can be very new, and you want to go pursue it, and you want to spend all this time with this new energy. But if you're not neutral in yourself, or if you're not in control, then you might just be so happy, over the top happy, and go like level 10 on this potential new relationship. But it wasn't actually a new relationship. It wasn't even anything. It wasn't the right person at all. But you aren't grounded. You aren't whole enough. You aren't aligned enough to have the emotional control to pursue that experience of a relationship with grace and with ease and with patience. I'm just trying to demonstrate that, being happy and excited is a good thing, but when we go too far on the spectrum or go too far on one end of the stick, it will take you out of alignment. So I guess that all being said, the Art Stories Project is essentially my place to go to share what I've done and teach what I know about love and life and being human. I'm not saying that I'm right about anything. I'm just documenting my perspectives, but my perspectives vary dramatically because I have the ability to see multiple points of view. So many perspectives always come through me. That's why it's so hard to kind of like make a decision, because it's like, if I do this, it'll go like that. I could do it that way. I could see it that way. So that's why I like turning my perspectives, turning my writings and my videos and my audios and my alcohol ink art into art stories. For me, it changes the energy around it. It's not so much that it's right or wrong or black and white. It's more that it's just a perspective. It's an idea. It's the universe experiencing itself. And I'm here on behalf of the universe. And so are you. Here to have a human experience and to collect information. Most people aren't doing that though. And so while some people look at me and have this idea that I had it together or something like that, but the truth is, I've never had it together. Quite the exact opposite. And I've hated myself for so long and so much. And that self-hate was the very thing that was blocking me off from being free to create something great. And that's all I ever wanted to do. So what I've done up until now, the work I've invested into myself and into researching what does it take to really heal, to really be free, to really find the unconditional love, because nobody really tells you how to do it, because nobody's really doing it. So yeah, I don't know if I have the answers, but just know that it's been a very long and painful journey to get to where I am. And I'm not lucky, and I don't have it all together. Not even a little bit. But this project is my process for trying to get it together. It's my way of trying to become someone in this 3D life experience while I'm here, because I don't know what else to do. I can't play the game that's going on out there because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. The more you awaken and the more you heal and the more light you fill yourself up with, the harder it is to pretend. The harder it is to be out there and act afraid. One of the craziest parts about my awakening is how much it forced me to recluse and isolate. And I feel like I've been living alone and being on my own for so long. And how I ended up in this situation is still a strange story. It's still a very strange story. And I don't even know if I ever want to tell it, to be honest. But I do sometimes wonder what really happened to me. No, really, what really happened to me. All I know is that for a very long time, it has felt very lonely. Very lonely, and the monster or the shadow or the ego, whatever you want to call it, that they really embellish on the loneliness. I just want someone or something, you know. But I have a theory. I have a theory that in order for us to truly shed our layers of pain and to really get to know who we are, this layer, this layer, this layer, this layer, this layer. Like, in order to really cultivate the gifts and to know our skills, or to really get to know what it is we want individually. What do we want? What do we like? What do we love? Because most of us, we like what other people like for us. We like what other people want for us, or we want what we want to give to other people, or we want other people to make us happy, to give us a reason to be here, to validate our existence. But it's because of that mindset that so many people are so disconnected from who they really are and where they come from and why they're here. That's why we don't trust ourselves. That's why we don't love ourselves, because we're always looking outside of the self. Being alone, cutting yourself off from relationships that aren't supporting you or helping you expand and grow is super duper uber important, because in that aloneness, you will figure out where your pain is. And there's the opportunity to heal. And when you do the work to heal, guess what happens? You will realize you were never, ever, ever alone. You have a massive, massive, angelic, spiritual team always there for you, always ready to help. You just have to ask. If you ask, it is given. Trust this. Know this. It's already done. And so what's so beautiful about really opening ourselves up to who we really are, to be willing to go within, to learn about love. We learn about spirituality. And it is through spirituality that we are really able to cultivate the goddess energy, the masculine. When we align the masculine with the feminine, when we align ourselves with who we really are, when we rediscover our innocence, that youthful, childlike energy that just has so much power, that gives us this creativity and this personality to really play and be free. That's what we all want. That's what we all want. But, you know, the way life is designed, look at what they're doing nowadays to kids, putting masks on them. Here, kid, you're not worthy of breathing clean air. Put a mask on because the air is worse than suffocating yourself. And there's a boogeyman out there. This is what they do to kids. They did it to you, they did it to me, they're doing it to them again. Create traumas, create so much fear at a young age, so we start breaking the hearts at a young age, so they create the fragmented personality traits and the brokenheartedness and the distortions, so that when the child grows up to become an adult, they are so broke apart, they can't even function or think for themselves. Thus, they don't believe in themselves. Thus, they don't take the right kind of action to be who they are meant to be and really deliver their gift. You see the cycle. If you see the cycle, if you understand, understand, and overstand what I'm saying, then welcome. Welcome, 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 and I'm happy you're here because now you too can start to really, 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 really do the work. Yes, you can. Don't worry, I'm here to help you. That's why I set this thing up. So, you know, my ways of helping are through the art stories. And in the art stories, you're going to be imprinted with color energy, which is a very powerful tool that will help you change your cellular chemistry. And that's essentially the process, that's the work. What tools are we going to use to help us raise our vibration? And it comes in a variety of different ways. And so the health detective, as a researcher in the area of all this stuff, and as an artist, my role here with all this is to integrate all the different parts of myself into a framework that helps other people do what I did. Raise your vibration, heal your heart, fall in love with you, and so that we can then change the energy in the outside world so that life on earth is like heaven on earth. As above, so below. As above, so below. Unconditional love is our ultimate quest, regardless of who you are, what your race is, what your sexual orientation is, what your eye color is, what your shoe size is, what your religion is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, because we are all human, aren't we? I guess that's debatable nowadays, but if you think you're human, if you have a heart, if you want to feel better, if you're tired of feeling so trapped, and if you're tired of feeling alone, and if you're tired of being broke, and if you're tired of being bored, and if you think the world is so broken and messed up, well, it's time for you to step up. It's time for you to step up, because the outside world is a reflection of how you feel within, so we need to go within. And so I create the Art Stories Project as a place to go to do the work, to learn about love from my perspective. I mean, take it or leave it. I'm not telling you to believe what I have to say. And remember, it's all just stories anyway. But it's the color energy, it's the sound healing, it's the words I say, it's the way I say the words I say, and it's the way I structured things. It's all designed to help you feel good. Imagine your body is like a sponge and you're holding on to all these emotions. The way we heal and the way we let go and the way we raise our frequency is by wringing our sponge out. So how do you feel? How do you feel the feelings you're holding on to? You got to express. You got to express. So expressing our truth through speaking, through writing, through documenting. So we got to express, we got to say how we feel. And sometimes there's just nowhere to go to do that. So we have to be willing to do the real work that it takes to do that. When we move our energy from this low vibrational place of fear and resistance and we come into a place of neutrality and unconditional love, then we don't need to control our outside world so much. Instead, we become a magnet for everything we want. In the life we want, the people, places, and situations and opportunities will come to you because you have become a vibrational match to that. Thus, vibration is predicated on how you feel and the emotions that you're radiating. So if you're radiating frustration and worry and doubt and not feeling good enough and not feeling loved, that's the kind of reality you're going to create. And so the work is about you changing that so that you feel uplifted, so that you feel energetic, so that you feel impactful, so that you are standing in your power, in certainty, in confidence, in charisma, and passion, and determination, and discipline, and willpower, and forgiveness. Forgiveness. It is in that way of being that we remove our judgments. And when we remove our judgments and we operate from that place, we just activate the magic that is always available, but you can't use it if you're not tuning into it. Changing our dial, raising our frequency, and becoming the deliberate creators of our own reality. Creators, the artists within. It's possible. Because if I could do it, you could do it. If you could do it, I can do it. And if I could do it, you can do it. And if they could do it, they could do it. And they could do it, and they can do it. And imagine this. Imagine this. Imagine this. Imagine if, like, so many of us just started doing it. Doing it. Are you doing it or are you not? Are you raising your frequency or are you not? Are you a victim or are you a warrior for a good life? Are you a victim or are you self-sovereign? Are you amateur? Are you pro? Huh? Anyway. These are important questions to ask yourself, and this is really what the Art Stories Project is all about. I'm here to help you look at yourself and love yourself. I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but it's worth it. You are worth it. And so ultimately, I'm trying to teach people how to get to the roots that really make a difference. And so if you value what I do, then I hope you will stick around and come back every day, come back often, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that I am always delivering epic content that heals, content that helps. But I want you to know that I'm a work in progress too. I'm a work in progress, but I am always doing the work to try to improve, and I don't have all the answers, so I might contradict myself. Anyway, that's all I got to say in this video. I will post new videos in this little section often so that I can keep you up to date on my progress and how things are going. Think of it as, like, regular updates on our progress to creating the world's greatest healing center. We are the healing centers. You. We are going to be the change the world needs to see. So if you're a true fan, if you're part of the Art Stories Project, what you're really a true fan of, light and love.